I would like to call this Construction and Finance Joint Committee meeting. Myself was the chair for Finance, and John Simmons, he's the chair for Construction. Also for the Finance Committee, we have Trey Britt, we have Terry Lotley, which is on virtual. We have Melissa Ocean that's here. We have Mr. Craig Lowry. For Construction, we have Mr. Henry Brewer that's here. We have Melissa Ocean that's here. We have Trey Britt here, and Krista Monroe that's on. She's on virtual as well. All right, Mr. John.
Also, William Gentry, please.
Oh yeah, Mr. William Gentry. I'm sorry, Mr. Gentry. No. We will have the Red Springs High School track update by Mr. Bobby Lotley. Hold up, Mr. Craig, you got a question? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to ask, and I'm not sure about adding, and I don't like to do this, but I wanted to add just a discussion about the track at Pernell Sweat High School. I know it's not something that's going to be done now, but I just wanted to have a discussion about it if we could do it at the end of this, what's on the schedule, if that's okay. And if it's a motion to do that, I'll make a motion that we just add it for discussion purposes.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it. And we will add that. Do you think we need to add after the legal retainer or after the Red Springs strike?
Well, if the conversation is going to be around that as a future capital project, then I'd rather wait till when we have that conversation about capital projects for, that would be what, 25, 26?
25, 26.
Yeah, because we're aware of the gaps and that they can't use the track.
Yes,
that
sir.
we've got to do something. We're clear on that. But we've already approved our capital projects and assigned budget to that. But that is a conversation that's on our list moving forward for 25, 26 capital project.
I'm fine with that because I knew the budget had been approved and there wouldn't be money to do what that would cost.
Right.
And I had just checked, actually yesterday, I didn't think it was this bad. I know it's bad, but I talked to one of the coaches who's been there over 15 years and he just said they hadn't ran a meet on it. He said in at least 10 years.
Right.
Been going away for everything. And so if we can look at it next year by getting it done, I'm good with that.
Yeah, we have it on an ongoing list of capital projects, and that's one of the ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bobby?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, or both Mr. Chairs here tonight, board members, Dr. Williamson. So, Mr. Vontae, just to make sure you want to start with Red Springs or start with CTE? CTE is first.
Yeah, Red Springs High Track.
Okay. So, just to give you an update on the Red Springs High Track, we've been in conversation with our engineering contractor on that track. So over the last few weeks, lane 1 has been removed in its entirety around the track. The contractor came in and ground down the inside concrete ring around the track. There were various spots in the track where there might have been a quarter of an inch to a half of an inch where the ring was higher than the inside track. The track person has completed spraying down the adhesive and track itself. That work was completed yesterday. So now it's a matter of allowing that to cure and see before we paint the lines or put any identification down on that track. Just wait for that to cure and we will follow up. Hopefully we will get some rain in the near future and see if we have any issues. But according to the work that is being done, all issues at the track at this point indicates that those issues should be resolved.
So Bobby, we did involve our school board attorney from day one, who's helped us to get to this point in case we did have to go to litigation, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
That is correct. So there were additional drainage cut in the concrete ring approximately every 6 feet around the entire track itself.
Any questions to Mr. Bobby about the track?
I have a question. So, and this is for Richard. So the conversation around the warranty of that track, 5 years, we have yet to use it. And so can you answer the question, whenever it's available to us, will that start the 5-year warranty count?
Yes, our position is there's not been substantial completion of this job. It hasn't been certified by the engineer on the job. Jonathan Locklear is the one who's supposed to certify that when it's done. It's not been certified as substantial completion, and the warranty runs from the date that it finally is certified as substantially completed. So we're still not in the warranty period yet.
So, Mr. Richard, all this work that's been done, redone to the track is up on the warranty, right? It's not coming out of our pocket. We're not paying for it.
We're not paying for it. It's completely as part of the original job.
Mr. Chair, I was just wondering, in relation to what Dr. Williamson was saying, with the attorney involvement, did we have to use the attorney to get to this point? Or is it something we had to come back and renegotiate?
Yes, we had to involve the attorney.
We've been pretty actively involved in this from the time we came on board with you.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Bobby? All right, Mr. Bobby, we can go on to school security update.
So I placed at everyone's table a copy of the amount of money that request was made to show the amount of money that we have spent at the district level. So Eric and I looked at this over the last 3 years in terms of safety. Now, prior to this, schools were able to use their low wealth funding or at-risk funding to purchase cameras at their sites. So we have identified here what we have spent at the district level over the last 3 years. So 21, 22, in terms of at-risk funding and local, we've spent almost $2 million in SRO, supplies, and security equipment. 22, 23 was the first year we received a safety grant. And so with that safety grant, we installed the video entrance systems at all of our schools. We installed video cameras on our middle school buses and supplied those buses with radios. So you can see we used safety grant money for that. We then used at-risk money to support our SROs. We also used DSS funding to support our SROs and local. So in 22, 23, we spent right at $3.4 million there. And this current school year, the one we just ended, again, we spent a portion of our DSS funding for SROs. We received a safety grant again, and this safety grant allowed us to complete camera installation on the remaining of our fleet. We used the remaining at-risk funding for SROs and additional safety equipment. And so in both of these, over the last 2 years, schools that were unable to have security cameras on campus, we did support that through our budget. And again, we use local to support SROs. This past school year, we spent right at 2.7 million. And over the last 3 years, that's a total of over $8 million at the district level that we've spent in terms of security for our schools. The next page in your handout, question was asked about security systems or cameras at our schools. And you're going to see here again, prior to the last couple of years when funding started to decrease, schools primarily use 3 different vendors within our county to supply their own cameras. So you can see that there are varying ages of cameras within our schools. So our plan is to, of course, when the safety grant comes out again this school year, is to apply for that once again. We will our hopes are to replace the older systems that are in school with that safety grant money. So we do have some that are inoperable, but we do not have a campus in our district where there are no cameras that are working at all. Every school has a system that is operable. It may not be all of them, but there's no campus, and we fixed that need over the last 2 years through our money to support those schools that did not have a system in place.
Thank you for letting me speak since I'm not on either committee. This is something for us to consider. Some districts have what they call a safety coordinator. And these cameras are, I'm thinking, are controlled or taken upon at the central office level. I'm asking not any kind of vote or anything. I'm asking us to consider since the district's putting so much money in it, let the district be in charge of putting the cameras out and keeping them going and keeping like maybe 3% of the school's DSS or 069 monies to maintain this. I know we issue the schools money, but we could keep like 3%, 2% to help maintain the cameras, because Mr. Britt will attest to this. It's a mess out there. I know there was theft at a specific school and the camera was aimed right straight at the material that was stolen. And we thought for sure we had the thief, but lo and behold, we checked the camera and it hadn't been working. It's not working. So what I'm proposing at some distant time, not tonight, is that we hire a safety coordinator at the district level and that the district maintains the cameras. And we could, the money that we're giving the schools, just keep maybe 2%, 3%. Erica would assist that of the 69 of DSF to keep that going. Let it be a district responsibility and hire a safety coordinator, because you can look at this. This is a mess with the cameras, and that's my opinion. I think that's the way to get it all consistent and up working and maintain it, because the first thing that the law says that we are responsible for the health and safety of our children and our staff. That's before we educate them. We're responsible for the health and safety of them. And I think that for the district to be responsible for the cameras, that's just my take. And I'm not saying do it tonight. I'm saying let's consider that.
All right, Ms. Erica?
Thank you, Mr. Leach. I just wanted to say, Dr. Emanuel, that, with 069 in our current school year, we lost $852,000. According to the data set from DPI and the 2020 census, we actually experienced an increase or a decrease in our poverty, increase in wealth. So that allotment alone was cut $852,000. 069 is the only budget that you can buy the safety and security equipment with, but it's also the only budget that we can give to the schools to help cover transportation for tutoring and after school tutoring programs that they have. So we also pay for the ISS coordinators and SROs, which you see over the last 3 years, I've had to use local to supplement. So there's not much left in that budget that's not already a fixed cost with staff or SROs and a mixture of safety, but we can certainly look and see what our allotment is going to be for the upcoming school year to see if it goes back at all, if there's any increases there. But we've kind of already scaled that back and held back percentage from them in the current year we're in because of that reduction.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair. With DSSF and others, I bet if you analyze how the schools are paying for it, they are taking it out of those pots that you allotting them.
We don't allot the SSF to the schools.
Well, whatever you're
Yeah.
allotting to, because I do not think, maybe they can take it out of Title I, I'm not sure. I'm saying something I don't know.
Title I would say that that would probably be supplanting. That's
Yeah.
something the district should do out of other
So
sources.
I guess what I'm trying to say is my concern is the health and safety of the children. And I think everybody's concern is
Absolutely.
that.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's a mess, these cameras now. Mr. Trey and I had a discussion about the cameras, and I'm sure everybody else has too.
And we've
but-
also had instances where we have them on camera taking the materials several times. And the cameras are a great resource to help after the fact,
Yeah.
but they don't seem like much of a deterrence.
Well, I'm just
but
saying.
We're
I
trying
think-
to level the playing field for all the schools.
Thank you. I'm just saying, I think it should be a district's responsibility for keeping the cameras up and running. And I think we desperately need a district safety coordinator for that and other things. And that's just my take. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me talk.
Williams, and then we're gonna have, Mr. Trey Britt.
Dr. Emanuel, I agree with part of what you're saying. Bobby is our district safety officer, does a good job with that. We identified the same problem. We have 3 different companies providing cameras. That's been a problem. Some of the companies done a better job than others. And so we are going to assume that and make it a district responsibility for cameras in the district and use one company so that we can hold them accountable. That has been a problem. When that money went to schools, they were able to pick whoever. Standards was not followed. So you're absolutely right in your identification of that concern being all over the place. But Bobby and I've had that conversation, and that's where we're headed. We're going to pick that up as the district and have it uniform.
Mrs. Trey Britt.
And I agree with Dr. Emanuel 100%. So tonight, we're making it a district thing that we're going to be responsible for the cameras, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Not on the principal.
Right. Well, we
Okay.
have not given an allocation for that, 2 years, 3 maybe?
All right, I got a couple questions. Number one is I've seen where Cumberland County is going to open gate metal detectors. Do we have any plans in the future of going to open gate metal detectors at our high schools? Because I know Lumberton's got like 32 doors.
So we have checked into that, to a product that's similar to what Cumberland County is using. The cost of that, we've checked in it the last 2 years, is approximately $6 million just for our high schools.
Okay. Second question is, on this paper, all this is good information. It's on point. Another concern I've got, I don't see the bus garage or the maintenance building on here or central office.
Yes, so that was not included. We currently have because this was an old school, there is a set of cameras here that was installed as it was a school. We do have limited cameras over at our maintenance department. The only building that we do not have cameras at is our transportation department. And part of the reason we do not have that, again, would be funding. The second part of that is that building is occupied anywhere 22 to 24 hours out of a school day, either by school employees that arrive 5:30 in the morning, and our security officers come on approximately between 6 and 7 at night. So that building, there's pretty much somebody on the grounds 22 to 24 hours out of a school day.
But here's my question. One, how much are we spending an hour on an officer to be there?
Their rate is set at $30 an hour.
$30 an hour.
Yes.
All right, my second question is, I'm not just looking at a security standpoint at the bus garage. I'm looking at it if a worker falls, a liability issue. We have no proof, you know what I mean? They're walking outside the garages, there's oil on the ground or something. And 2, there's no accountability who's coming in those gates and out of those gates. That's my issue with it. And I understand it's a big area that we can't cover all the angles, but I know it's information, but we need cameras at the bus garage outside that can monitor what's coming in and out, period.
I agree, not a problem.
Third question I've got is I'm having the issue at Lumberton where the doors are monitored by the bell, correct? When the
That
bell
is-
rings, the door is unlocked.
That's correct.
I've been told that when those bells ring, like during spring break, there was doors that were unlocked on that school. Because if that's something that the administration monitors and they is able to cut off, or how does that work is my question. Because I during the Slugfest, I walked up to Norman High School, the front door was wide open. The school weren't even in, is my question. Or is that controlled by the administration, or how does that work?
That is a new system that, thanks to one of our vendors, came and donated that system to the school. It's relatively new, and Mr. Brooks and his administration controls the opening and closing of that. There's a software program that would monitor that, and Mr. Brooks tweaks that program as he sees needed. So that would just be something that Mr. Brooks would need to be made aware of how to turn that off during school closings.
And you did say we have cameras here in that other maintenance building off of 74?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Henry?
With funds being limited from previous years, I just wanted to make a recommendation, Mr. Bobby, that we look at our risk management statistics and prioritize in a relation to incidents that may have occurred or potentially not. Well, we can't bank on potentials. It's statistics of what's already occurred.
And what Ms. Eric and I did not include in this as well, another added feature that we've done over the last years. Remember, we purchased the portable lighting that we're using at all of our athletic events and some after-school activities. That was approximately $175,000. So again, we are doing everything within our capabilities, but also within the budget to address safety issues at all of our campuses.
Ms. Ocean?
Okay, and just to clarify, Bobby, I know you said there's cameras on every campus, even though some of them may or may not work. But looking at the last page with Southside, and it's showing me 16 out of 16, like they have 16 cameras and 16 are inoperable. I'm going to assume that's a mistake, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll follow back up with Dr. Jones on that today.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask, make another statement? As part of our school improvement plan, schools principals have to submit a school safety plan. Wendy or Jennifer, do you want to address that we use those plans as a means of knowing what we need to address?
School safety.
So again, as part of school improvement plans, they have to submit a school safety plan.
You wanna,
Yeah.
because they submit it to you. Okay.
So yes, they do address school safety within their school improvement plans, but we have developed what we call a CERT plan, and schools identify first responders, their reunification site. So schools do develop a plan every year, and they are asked to revisit that plan in the event periodically throughout the year to address any potential safety concerns they may have on campus. And most recently this school year, Ms. Jessica, along with first responders, law enforcement, and other agencies throughout the county, created a district-wide crisis plan that everyone's aware of as well.
Also, Bobby, we are planning a active shooter training with law enforcement for this summer. Is that correct?
That is correct. And, you know, we did participate in one 2 years ago over at our old Green Grove site, but we are in conversations with law enforcement to at least complete one this summer.
All right, look like Mr. Terry got his hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Question about our processes in terms of allowing people to enter schools. It's my understanding that, for example, let's just say an event like Grandparents' Day. So grandparents were allowed to come in and have like breakfast with their children, you know, their grandkids or whatever. But, you know, soon after that, there was a couple of situations where that same grandparent may have wanted to come have lunch or something with their child, and they were told no because they would have to have a background check. So my question is, are we applying the same set of guidelines across the board, or is that a local decision, or how are these decisions being made?
All right, so in terms of Grandparents' Day, the experience that I have is that those individuals must sign up and get permission from the parent. And so they're going in, they're having breakfast, and they're leaving. In terms of walking in and just saying, hey, I'm here to have lunch, then we have a policy that clarifies visitors to a school campus, and principals set those individual rules. And I can tell you that I am not aware of a school in our district that would allow just parents, grandparents, relatives to walk in and have lunch with a student. But yes,
Okay.
there's a policy that it's not as specific as saying who, when, and where. It gives the authority back to the principal.
Okay, and would that be the same, would those sets of guidelines be determined or be applied in the same way as something like going out to read for Dr. Seuss Day?
Yes, so those individuals that we were aware of did complete background checks.
Are there systems that would allow someone with maybe their driver's license, if they wanted to come in, if they were being told they needed a background check? So there's this barcode on the back of our license, I'm told, that can be scanned that would essentially stand in place of a background check. Are you aware of any systems like that?
Yes, there are districts that have systems that would connect to law enforcement, but right now our Identikit is the only one, and that's universal across the district, and that just keeps track of check-in and check-outs.
Okay, so Identikit is a system that we use just to track visitors.
Yes.
Okay, but no background checks or anything is tied to it. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trey Britt?
This may be a question for Miss Erica. You said that funding for cameras, let me just make sure I got myself clear. Funding for cameras, let's just say the things to get in the door with, as far as the fobs and that sort of thing, that only comes out of one budget line item. Is that what you're saying to me?
So the safety and security line items in 069 can cover any of those types of things. It's if the school has enough in their allocation to cover it. And so that's why you'll see all the different schools with the number of cameras that they have is some chose to use their 069 to focus more on that. Others chose to use it for other things.
But
But
we're-
yes, it can cover.
But we're not putting it on the schools anymore as of tonight. We're gonna make it a
Correct.
district thing.
But that's, yes.
There is no way we can change line items or something to increase that amount is what I'm asking.
Well, it's all about everything else that comes out of the budget. So I prioritize 069 by the fixed cost first, which is going to be the salaries. Then we look at the expectation of the SROs. All that to me is the fixed cost that we've already budgeted. So we've got to set that aside first. Then whatever's left is what we look at in sending out to our schools. And plus with it being reduced 852,000, it left a huge gap that's going to have to be filled with local.
Mr. Curry?
Thank you. Mr. Bobby, going back to, you and I had a conversation about this past year, about the parents or grandparents of someone coming to school. If it's Grandparents' Day or the Dr. Seuss, you got the big crowd, so all that takes care of itself kind of. And the issue we've had sometimes, I'm gonna say, especially elementary schools, parent or grandparent wants to come out there and have lunch or do something with their child. And they might be in a working situation. They can't come at the other times. Now, the only thing I would ask is if we have a policy on that, fine, but it needs to be consistent that whatever's happening at Orem with that needs to happen at Prospect, because it really causes a problem when one school lets this person in and the other school, they got a relative at that school and they can't get in. And it ends up causing issues at the schools with the principals or whoever. So how that can be, whatever it's going to be, it just needs to be communicated that we're doing the same thing everywhere.
And we can handle that with our principals in our summer retreat.
Mrs. John Simmons?
Mr. Bob, can you speak on about paving, man? You talked about it earlier, paving.
Paving, so
Yeah.
again, going back to Dr. Williamson's statement earlier, we have finalized all of our 24-25 capital outlay projects. So anything, the areas that we need to address for 25-26, we will begin to keep a tally of that. And then as we always do in the spring, come back and prioritize that based on funding, based on, again, one of the main issues that we try to address is, does this situation create a safety hazard for our students and visitors on campus? So at this point in time, all of our capital outlay projects for 24-25 have been finalized. So anything additional, as Mr. Craig stated, tracks, paving, would have to wait until we get into our 25-26 school year, or our 25-26 planning for capital outlay.
So Barbara, we are paving the staff parking lot at St. Paul's Middle School, correct?
That is correct. That was one of the 24-25 projects. And the benefits of the last couple of years, when the board works and finalizes those projects early, we're able to go ahead and get them started so that we do not interrupt school. Our plan is to have bids closed on Thursday or Friday of this week. And so we'll get that process done, and that parking lot should be done prior to staff and students returning in August.
Mrs. Terry, you got his hand raised?
Yeah, so it looks like there's some paving going on at the university down by Shining Stars. And I know that there was some discussion earlier about us maybe jumping on that opportunity to pave that parking lot as well. And I was wondering if that was taking place.
So yes, I made contact with the contractor who's working over at UNCP, and he and I are working through some prices because we do have money in the budget, or set aside money for many years for some paving to be done at IEA. So once he and I get together and kind of finalize some prices there and have a conversation with Miss Erica, then we should be able to move that off of our capital list.
Yeah, because I thought that was on our capital list for this year. If we can get that done, that'll be nice. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I? And so that dollar amount is, we have the 75,000, and then Erica, we're gonna match so we have 150,000 available for that work.
That's correct. We upped it to 150, but as we indicated, it probably is going to be more than that. I think some of the initial conversations, because we added some additional coverage options there on the paving. So we think it'll be a little more than that, but it will be reasonable based on the 150.
And so as our practice, Bobby and Erica, we're gonna complete that project. So it's gonna be a little bit more, but we're gonna complete the project totally. Because we had a concern about drainage, but that's not gonna be an issue.
Right. So our intent is not to go there and pave a parking lot, because if you've lived in Robeson County most of your life, you know we're flat and water doesn't drain. So our intent is to pave the road that runs back between the museum, CIS, and back around the gym.
Dr. Emmanuel?
Is there a prioritized list for paving, or do you guys just say, I visited School X and I think we need to pave that? Is there a list? So it might be 10 years before a school is scheduled to be paved at the rate we're going. So I guess what I'm trying to say, is there a prioritized list somewhere about schools being paved? Like when we did air conditioning, remember how there was a list? And probably there's a list when you're doing something else or whatever.
So we currently, we do, I would say we have our eyes on a couple of places that need paving, but to say we have a formal list at this point, we do not, but we will have that for our spring planning meeting.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Next, we're gonna talk about is FEMA settlement. We're gonna skip around. We're gonna have to go to the FEMA settlement. And we got Ms. Danielle Armin. She's online, but what we're gonna have to do, somebody gonna have to make a motion
Mr. Chair, we need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to confer with attorneys regarding confidential legal matters.
A motion was made by Mr. John Simmons, a second was made by Mr. Trey Britt. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? We're going to closed session. Next, we'll have the CTE Planetary and Science and Center bid packages by Mr. Bobby Locklear and Mr. Michael Holborn.
Good evening again, Chairman Leach and Chairman Simmons. So tonight we have long-awaited moment, I believe, and that is for us to review the bid packages for our new CTE and Planetarium Science Center building. We held our original bid meeting on April the 18th. We had to have a rebid for several packages on April the 25th. So the team has put together a document indicating the bids where we're currently at this moment. And Michael and TJ from Metcom will share that information with you. And just to give everyone a reminder, especially those folks that are online, our initial budget that we have for this project in terms of money we've received from our needs-based public school capital fund and our local match. So in total grant money that we've received from the state, we've received $62 million. Our local match between us and our county commissioners is right at $10,600,000. So that is our total budget for this project at this point in time. Everyone should have the bid package in front of you. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Michael and Metcom, and they will walk through the bids.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael Holborn with SFLA Architects. I'm project manager. I'm going to run through these alternates just to give you a sense of what is in these alternates. I know reading the list maybe it wouldn't make sense. So I provided some visuals on some of them. Others I'm just going to have to describe to you. And I'll try to run through this list quite a bit. So if you look at your package, alternate number 1 calls out planetarium equipment. That has already been bid and procured. So that if you look at on the right where it says status, there's an A and an R. If you can go to the next page, I'll probably start with that. The A means accepted, R is rejected, and then we have P for pending. And as we go through, I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of that. So the planetarium equipment we've accepted. We're already working with that vendor to start that process on getting the equipment and all that. The alternate number 2s that you see there, those are your door hardware. Your district wants to use specific manufacturers and that, so that way you have consistency across the county. There's no cost add to those, so those have all been accepted. And those were identified by your team. We can look at alternates 3 are plumbing fixtures. You can see on those, there's no cost adds. Those as well are looking at for maintenance. And so what you're seeing like 3A and 3B are Toto Eco Power. What those are is they have a little turbine inside of them. So when you flush, the water pressure actually turns that turbine and it recharges the battery. So what that means is you're not swapping batteries out every year. You're not having to do all that. Saves you a massive amount on maintenance, having people go around and swap batteries out in your restrooms. So those are all your fixtures. So it just saves you that kind of headache, and there's no cost add to the project for doing that. And then we just have in there like the water coolers, specific kind of LK model that has the bottle filler. And then 3D is the wash fountain, and that's in some of the like automotive space, so they can do like the group washing hands. It's like the big half round. Is there a question?
What did you
Mr.
say?
Henry?
What'd you say that the R stood for?
It's rejected. So it's what we tried to whittle the list down by rejecting certain items that we felt may not be able to make it in the budget. There's sort of lower priority items, whether it's based on cost or need, stuff like that. If there's any particular items that are listed here that might want to be considered, then that discussion can happen. But we were trying to be prudent with the budget and remove certain items to kind of whittle the list down, so it makes the selection process a bit easier as we proceed forward with the process. So those are the plumbing fixtures. Again, Those are really just to help your maintenance staff out by selecting certain items, and there was no cost add to that. Item number 4 is essentially your PV panel system. Came in pretty high, and given the budget where we're at, we've put an R next to that. Again, anything with an R could be reevaluated, but in terms of trying to meet the budget, we have determined that one is out at the moment. Moving forward, number 5 is the optomechanical projector star ball. That's part of the planetarium equipment. So that's the star ball. It's in the middle. And that's already been included in that planetarium bid. So that's why it's showing as accepted. Number 6 is a turnkey technical education equipment package. We've been working with a vendor to help us select equipment, but that is a package that still needs to be worked through by your staff and the design team a bit to select that equipment. There is budget set aside for equipment and technology within the building, but we haven't selected a particular vendor for that. And so there's no cost that it's not really been resolved yet. Alternate number 7, that's a turnkey furniture package with Meteor Education. We've worked thoroughly through the furniture requirements of the project. We have a PO with them, and so that's already been included in the base bid. So we have our furniture package included. We'll move down to, let's see, alternate, where'd Bobby go? 8, you want to talk about alternate 8?
So from the very beginning, we decided to design this building in phase 1 and phase 2. So that's the language we've used thus far. But when this was bid out, Metcon decided to bid phase 2 as alternate number 8. So alternate number 8 or phase 2 includes 7 classroom and labs. Those are the 4 industrial labs that we had planned, 2 mechatronic labs, and 1 culinary classroom. And we were very upfront. We stated that phase 2 would depend on completion of phase 2 would depend on the availability of funding. So the cost here for the construction side of phase 2 is almost $9 million. But the total cost for phase 2 would end up being about $14 million when we started adding in our bonds and the additional fees and costs that would come from our contractors and architects. So currently we do have that listed as a P. But again, as I've already shared with you, our budget for this project is the $72 million. And when we get to our final number here, you're going to see that we're right at $72 million without including the phase 2 project or / alternate 8. So at this point in time, that more than likely this would convert from a P to an R just simply due to funding.
Thank you for that. So moving on to alternate number 9, it's an LED monumental sign. That would be sort of a long 7-Eleven typical LED sign that you would see for schools and churches and stuff like that. We are providing, I believe in the basement we have electrical and all that is still running out there.
We already installed the underground conduit for that.
Okay, so we have the conduit, electrical, all that would be provided, so it's already there. And in the future, this is just whether you, from day one, provide a sign and what that sign is, and that has to be resolved. And then number 10A, actually that one has a visual. So if we could go to the visuals now, I'll run into a list of those. So 10A is the stainless steel inlay at the entry. This is taking the PSRC logo, having it made out of stainless steel and embedded in the concrete so it's nice and flush and smooth. We have that as pending. We do see that as, an item we would definitely like to see in the project. We don't have it in now, but that can also be added somewhat later in time. So we might have a little bit of time to make a decision on that item. If you go to the next slide, please. So 10B is vinyl wall coverings. Last time I was here, I presented some of the environmental graphics. And so that's what you're seeing here. This is another item too, where we can look at, some of the slides I'll show here. I've got a couple slides, isn't comprehensive of the entire building. So there might be spaces, maybe we could reduce it and save some cost. So there's some flexibility in this one, but it's basically the color graphics that you're seeing on the wall. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is in your learning commons where your main shops are. This is in the drone lab. If you can go to the next slide. So basically kind of a classroom setup. And then here is in your science center. And so this is one where we could say like, hey, the science center, that's big impact. That's one we definitely want to keep, but maybe some of the other classrooms, it's not as important. That would bring that cost down and we can make that selection through this process. And again, we would have a little bit of time on that one to make decisions given that it's vinyl graphics. Could you go to the next slide, please? So 10C, which I think if you all remember from our last presentation is my absolute favorite. So I'll be pushing for this one because I love this thing. But this is the dimensional C-Tech sculpture that is kind of out in the parking lot at the end of your entry canopy. Again, this is another item where you have some time for a decision that we could decide on later because it's not going to hold up any of the construction or building. So we want to keep it on the list. We don't want to reject it at this point, but as the project develops and we work through this process, if we can fund this, you'd make me a very happy man. But moving on to, please go to the next one. So that's just the sculpture again. So looking at 10D is the crosswalk design. We have 2 crosswalks there, as you can see in the rendering, and it's the colored triangles in between. Just adds a little fun and vibrancy as people walk up to the school. Next slide, please. So the next one was the hanging artwork in the lobby of the Science Center. This is just another one where it's artwork. We can work our way through it. We have it listed here as pending. And so what that artwork is, how much you want to spend on it, if anything at all, that can be decided also at a later date. And then moving on to number 11 is roller window shades. There's just some spaces around the building. We think it'd be nice to have some roller shades like the Science Center, the engineering classroom, and other spaces we've identified. That one we've put in the accepted column because we do think that it's important for glare control, things like that. So we have already put number 11 in this budget that you're looking at. We've included that one. Number 12 is terrazzo flooring. That was mostly through the center learning commons. We have LVT flooring, which looks fantastic, and given the price difference between that and the terrazzo, we've put an R next to this one. Again, trying to identify like the best way, like what's the most impact for the school. And so currently we have 12 as an R. Excuse me. Number 13, if you could go to that rendering that you were on a minute ago. That wood ceiling, which goes through all the main learning comments here on the interior. That is item number 13. We have this item also as pending. That's a huge feature that we want to see in the project. Number 14, if you go to the next slide, please. So number 14 is the linear metal ceilings, which is the soffit. So if you look at the underside of the roof there, the wood soffit, it's a metal that looks like wood, and the idea is that it goes from the outside directly into the interior where you have the wood ceiling, so it looks like it's one continuous wood plane moving from inside to out. We think it would have a good, visual impact. We currently have it listed as a P for might happen, but that's what that alternate is for. So the 15A through 15G, they're essentially different tile types. I don't have visuals of the differences. We essentially worked with Metcon prior to bid to identify lower cost tile that has the same, quality and aesthetic effect, just at, 'cause some of these tiles just priced out quite high. So we have them all as rejected because we feel like we didn't really compromise the design and got the cost savings prior to bid. So we've essentially set these as a rejected at this point. Number 16 is provide workshop area ceilings. What this is really is swapping out the 2x2 ceiling that's in the 6 workshops that are in the back of the school, like carpentry, automotive, and all that. Excuse me. And replacing it with a Tectum ceiling tile, which is a little more durable, acoustically sound tile that's 2x4. We have that rejected this moment because, it would be nice to have, but it wouldn't have a massive impact on the acoustics. So, we currently have that as an R. Alternate number 17, we had some additional site walls to screen sort of the back area, but they came in quite pricey, and so we didn't feel like they were necessary given the budget constraints. There was much higher priority items. Number 18, I think I have a visual for 18. If you could pull that up, please. So number 18 is this learning stair that you see here. Currently, we do not have this in the project. That stair is not egress required. That would just be a convenient stair. And in its place, we would probably put some additional furniture and have it more of a seating and collaboration space. And there's a teacher work lounge on the back side of that stair that was kind of part of that too. It's a small space. So we currently have that one as pending. Let's see. So if you go to the next slide too. So for number 19, so I've kind of circled the sawtooth in the red box. So what it is the architectural CMU is just a finish on those sawtooths. In the base building, we have brick, which is the same manufacturer. It'd be a different color than we have in the base building. So currently those are brick. It's an upgrade to make them architectural CMU, which is just a bit nicer of a finish. Let's see, what do we have that as? Yeah, we have that one as rejected again, trying to identify higher priority items. We feel like there's other items that would take precedent over this particular one, but that's what that one means. It's just that area right there. So number 20, provide water source heat pumps. What this is your team has identified a certain manufacturer for water source heat pumps that they are familiar with and they like working with. This alternate and the $15,000 upgrade is to pick that specific manufacturer that you all like working with. So we've already accepted that because we want all the mechanical equipment to be what you all want. Let's see. So 21 is a battery energy storage system. This kind of goes along with the solar panels. So it's battery backup for the solar panel system. We rejected the solar, so we rejected the batteries. 22 is EV charging stations. That one was rejected as well. So 23 is an interesting one. So it's provide domestic content for geothermal mechanical systems. So in the Infrastructure Act that is in place, currently the way, so for the entire mechanical system, the geothermal system, all the mechanical, everything, including in that, the Infrastructure Act will give you back a rebate of 30% of the entire system at the end of the job. It's considered an energy project. Given the location, you get an additional 10%, so you'd be at 40%. If you add all domestic content, so there's certain specifics that we put into the specifications for the bid to meet certain domestic content. So it has something to do with like certain content of steel, and the equipment, all that has to come. The $15,350 alternate for the domestic content is what the sub is saying to buy certain materials that meet, US made material, that would get you 10% of the mechanical system. The mechanical system bid at 6.5, 5.8, 5.8 million. So 10% of that's 580,000. So the idea is if you spend $15,000 now, at the end of the job, you will boost your rebate 10%, which would be an additional $580,000. So to us, this is, definitely an accept it. Spend the 15,000 now and get 580 down the road. But that's kind of what that, we can get into more detail. I can send out information about it. It's kind of complicated because it's, government rebate stuff, but that's sort of the gist of what that is. 24, the public
May I ask a
address
question?
system.
May I ask a question on that?
Yes.
Is any portion of that 580 reflected in alternate 31, the 51,380?
No, that's a separate kind of item. So 24, the provide public address system. This is just identifying a particular manufacturer that your team likes to work with. There was no cost add, so we accepted it. Provide direct digital control system. So this is the building control system that controls, the entire building. Schneider, right? Was it Schneider? Was it Schneider? Yeah. Okay. You all like to work with Schneider. So this alternate is to have that particular manufacturer be provided for this project. It's a large upgrade, but again, if you're trying to incorporate this building with the rest of, the district's, building operations, we see it as a necessity. So we have that as accepted. 26, your team identified particular card reader manufacturer, the Schlage MT15 model in particular. There's no ad for that, so that's accepted. Video door stations, so the little cameras in that when people want to enter through gates in that. Again, just manufacturer, no cost ad. Along with that, the access control software that controls all the door hardware in that is from Schneider, I believe, as well. And that's a no-cost ad, so we've accepted that since that's what your team has identified wanting to use. 29, the addressable fire detection and control panel. That's your fire alarm panel. I don't recall offhand which manufacturer, but it's a particular manufacturer your team works with. It was $2,500 upgrade, so we accepted that one. Number 30, prices between stainless steel and aluminum kind of fluctuate, and the reality is brushed aluminum and brushed stainless steel look quite similar. They're really hard to tell. So there was a $3,600 credit that was possible if we went with aluminum. However, in consulting with the Metcon team and their subs about which materials better to work with, comes out with a better product, finished product at the end, they said we should stick with stainless steel. So for a savings of $3,600, we didn't feel like that was enough of a savings, given that the quality that we can gain essentially, or by sticking with the stainless steel. So we've rejected that credit, but it's pretty small. 31 is one that I'm putting together a meeting with the team. So the subcontractor has stated that there could be a savings if we go with the steel and copper piping instead of HDPE from the geothermal system into the building. And there'd be a savings of $51,000. That one we have is pending. It's likely, but I don't want to go ahead and just accept it. I want to get the subs, the engineers, I want to get everybody in a room, talk it through, make sure all the scopes, make sure everything's covered before we accept this one. But that one's, I would say, there's a decent likelihood that credit would come to us. But that's why that one's still pending, is I want to make sure everybody's in the room and understands kind of what we're getting ourselves into. I know I ran through that pretty quick because it's kind of a long list, but are there any questions, Mr. Lowry?
Mr. Craig?
Yeah, one real quick. Item 13, you talked about the suspended wood ceiling, which is pending. Was that hallways, classrooms, and everywhere with that wood, or was it just certain places?
It was just certain places. So it was that main kind of central learning commons space. And then there was a bit of it in like the engineering classroom because of the way the ceiling was, but it's not in every classroom. Most classrooms are your standard 2x2 ceiling.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, let me add to Michael's conversation. He did a great job of working through this. So prior to tonight's meeting, Michael and Metcom and I have had several conversations along with the team here at PSRC. So we've already gone through, and that's how we got to the A's, the R's, and the P's. So we've already worked through some of these and worked with them on what we would accept or reject and put pending. So from our perspective, the team here has kind of prioritized the P's. And so for us, and we believe this may be the feeling of you guys, and if I'm wrong, then please stop me. So priority number one would be the wood ceiling. And so again, this would be if funding's available, once we sit down and able to pin down definite concrete numbers, then our first priority would be the wood ceiling, because I believe everybody has seen that in the renderings and everybody knows that adds to just the simple aesthetics of the building. Priority number two would be that linear ceiling, metal ceiling. Three would be the learning stairwell, and four would be the CMU walls on the outside. If there's another particular order that you would like to see us work through those pendings on, please let us know. I'm sorry.
Can you go through those with the alternate bid numbers on them?
I will. So I'm sorry, number 13, our team has prioritized that as number one. And Mr. Cole, can you show that's wood? It's the wood ceiling. It's been in just about every rendering I believe Michael has put together. Yes.
It's up one.
It's up one, Cole. I'm sorry. Yes, so the suspended wood ceiling, we believe this adds just a extra nice addition to the building. Number 14 would be 2. And if I'm not mistaken, Michael, that continues the wood look from the outside to the inside of the building. Our priority number 3 would be number 18, and that is the learning stairwell. And again, as Michael has stated, this is not an egress stairwell. This is not we do not have to have it in the building. And lastly would be the CMU walls, number 4, and that is the texture on the outside, number 19, I'm sorry, number 19. And again, if you guys see another alternate you would like to, or another P that you would like to see take precedent, then please let us know.
Mr. Henry?
On that, item 18, add learning stair and instruction workroom. I know when we first looked at this project, that was going to be a big identifier for our building. Is that something that we could put in the next phase, since we do not have upstairs classes?
The phase 1 will incorporate upstairs classes. Phase 2, again, is just the 4 learning labs, 2 mechatronics labs, and culinary. But phase 1 does incorporate upstairs and downstairs.
Now, access to upstairs I understood would be this descending stairway here, and we're gonna have an elevator?
Yes, there will be an elevator in the building, but again, this stairwell is not required. We do not have to have it in the building.
Yeah, you might go.
Even in
see it in the
emergency
rendering.
situations?
Sorry, we go to, try and give you the alternate number that has running. If you go up a couple slides to the wood look, yeah, right there, that stair right there that you're seeing, that's, so as soon as you
Okay.
come in the building and you turn to the right, there's that stair, that gets you to the upstairs classrooms. The learning stair is essentially behind you in this rendering and wouldn't be needed. That is our egress stair. And we also have another egress stair that's an enclosed stair that's just for exiting. But your daily up and down would come from this particular stair that's closer to the entrance.
And we would meet all codes as far as
Yep.
emergency
Yeah, because we would
situations.
have the 2 exits, we're well within distance requirements, all that kind of stuff. I typically don't like to put learning stairs as egress stairs because there's a possibility they could go away. And they are usually more centrally located in the building, and you tend to want your stairs closer to the outsides because it doesn't help you distance-wise. Once you enclose the stair, then your distance kind of stops, but being that it's open, you have to do it all the way to the front door. And when it's in the middle of the building, you tend to not even be able to use it, in your distance requirements. So that's why we made sure we met code without this particular stair. So that definitely is not an issue.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Michael, the federal reimbursements, when would those be available?
At the end of the project, so we summarize, we submit the paperwork, and then a rebate would come back to the district. That's something I'd have to work with your team and Metcon on because they need to provide some documentation of the work, and then I'd work with your team to help sort of facilitate those funds. So right now, the way the project is, we're looking at 40%. If you pay the additional 15%, you get another 10, so we'd be at 50% of the mechanical system in a rebate.
And the 71 million plus, that includes your contingency of what percent?
Yeah.
71.8 million does include your contingency for the owner, design team, and CM contingency. 71 also includes whatever is approved as of right now. So if you look at the line item, it says total construction cost to date, 11 million something. And that is part of your number that you already signed for it.
So our expectation is to take a vote tonight to accept these alternates and move it forward for our board meeting to the full board, correct?
I think Mr. Chair got a question.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little bit biased. I would love to see the electric charge, the charging station, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. It's not a hill that I'm willing to die on. But also, you mentioned something about acoustics, and I don't have this paperwork in front of me, but I would just like some confirmation that the acoustics or the sound coming from the workrooms, machinery and all of that is not going to interfere with the planetarium and vice versa. So are we working it out such that the students in the planetarium will have, and I guess the word will be like an immersive experience where they're not hearing equipment from those classrooms?
Yeah, that's correct. So the planetarium is a CMU block cylinder, which really does help a lot of the acoustics isolate that. We have acoustic materials within the room, which really any sound that, within it actually stays there. And then if you look at the way in the plan, which I don't have any visuals, but if you look at the plan, the classroom is always between the shop and like the learning commons. And what that is that's essentially that acoustic buffer and air gap. So that way the sound would have to go from the shop through the classroom, through the learning commons to like the planetarium. And the acoustics, we have a ceiling in there, which is a ceiling like you would see, kind of in the room we're in right now. These acoustic tiles are just a little bit better from an acoustic standpoint. There's a little bit better from a durability standpoint. And so that's why, we recommended putting them in there. They do come at a cost. But again, if that's something that you all think makes sense, then we can definitely, evaluate that.
Thank you so much.
I have one more thing to add. As we're looking at the alternates, just a reminder, that is a direct cost to the subcontractor. It doesn't include any of the like fees or bonds and stuff like that. So as you're accepting, just keep that in mind. That would fluctuate a little bit up and down as we finalize the final number.
Mr. John?
Have y'all figured out where y'all gonna put what wall y'all gonna put all the mascots in, so when the kids come in, they'll be able to see it?
We don't have it completely worked out. We did identify, so when you walk in the building, you have the reception area, and if you turn the right, there's a wall kind of in that corridor right there, right there where reception is at, and the offices. That's one that we've identified would be a good spot for it. But we haven't worked through like the graphics and all that. We need to get in with your team on that and kind of work through that. But we have started looking at some locations for that.
Thank you.
And so again, Chairman Leach, what we're asking, and Dr. Williamson already alluded to this, what we're asking for the Financing or Construction Committee to approve is the GMP package, total package on page 2, the total amount of $71,857,427. So that's what we're asking for tonight, with final board approval at our next board meeting.
And that figure, does that figure include the pending, does not include any of the pending items?
No, sir, it does not.
And the total pending items I've got are 11,310,658. And the preferred pending items, the 4 you mentioned, are 2,585,345. Would that sound about right? You have those figures handy or not?
We don't have that number handy right now.
Okay. And you've got over 1.5 million in the owner and the construction manager contingencies, correct?
That is correct.
What's that?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. And a total budget of 72.6 million.
Yes, sir.
And a proposed total cost here of 71.857 million. So you got 742,000 there, and you've got 1.5 million in owner contingency and construction manager contingency.
Mhm.
So close to the full amount of the 4 preferred pending items. If you combine the 2 contingencies and the additional amount you've got between the construction cost and design fees and the total budget. You're getting close there, right?
You're getting closer there, but I mean, as the CM contingency and the owner contingency, we believe that we're going to need throughout the projects. So we suggest you to keep that till we get like we finish the project, and the remaining cost will go back to the owner at the end of the project. Like the savings from the contingency go back to the owner at the end of the project.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mr. Henry?
Mr. Chair, if no more discussion, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Metcom report of accepted expenditures for the new CTE school of 71.85 mil. Is there anything I'm missing, Mr. Schwartz?
No, give the exact.
Give it
It's 71 million, $850,850 what?
71,807,027.
That is
200.
correct.
Okay, 71,857,227, 427.
Yeah, I gotta go to, but we got, somebody got the second to go to the board. All right, it's been properly moved to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Take it to the board. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. All right. Next on the list is Mr. Schwartz for his legal retainer contract. We want the short version.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to make this presentation proposal to the board. We have recommended we've been asked to propose a 4-year contract beginning July 1 to go through and be consistent with the terms of the oncoming board members and the superintendent and administrative senior staff. And so we have submitted this proposal for a retainer fee of $5,000. That's a $2,000 a month increase. It would add 2 board meetings per year and 3 staff development workshops per year to the current retainer amount. And the only other change from the current agreement is a $10 per hour increase in the hourly rate. That would not include any increases for the next 4 years. So it would hold steady. So it'll be roughly 1.25% on average per year from what it has been over the past 2 years. So over the course of a 6-year period, it will have gone up $10 in 6 years. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions any of you may have.
Anybody got any questions? Mr. John Simmons?
By looking at the contract, it looked like it's a lot of money, but we actually talked to Mr. Richard, and he's actually giving us a good deal. I would like to make a motion that we bring it back to the board.
All right, before that, Mr. Craig had his hand up, but it had been probably moving to second. Now we got a discussion about Mr. Craig.
Your mic's on. Your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Craig.
Yeah. Mr. Richard, I told you I was cheap, right?
I heard that. You said that.
Yeah, I said that. Okay. Now, let me say, folks, if you read all these cases that they dealt with, that basically, to a large extent, we know nothing about. And I'm not saying it bad, I'm saying it's been handled. And most of them, if I'm not mistaken, is EC. So, I don't know how much money has been saved or took care of people or what have you. I would like to say, and I'm going to support definitely Mr. Richard bringing you back. Now, I'm going to ask that you look at that retainer fee. If you could cut something off of that, I would like to ask that we be notified. Because that law stuff is interesting, and I think we need to know it as much as principals as far as what's going on. So when we're not going to come here and stay 8 hours that day, but I'd come stay an hour or so when he's doing those presentations. And like I said, appreciate getting to know that.
Yes.
So I'm definitely going to support bringing him back. I did have one other thing. Mr. Schwartz, chairman, vice chairman, contacts you. There is sometimes as a board member, I feel like I need to give you a call. And I remember when you come on, it was clearly stated it had to be the chairman or vice chairman. So I would like to look at that because there are times that I feel like as a board member, I need to be able to give you a call. And I use the example of that House bill. That's on, I went ahead and called. But I do think there are times that just as a regular board member, if I start doing it every week, you need to stop me, but special occasions.
And that's up to your board policy. So you can decide how you want that communication to go. For most boards, it's if you're chairman of the committee or chairman of the board, you can contact the attorney. If you're a board member and you'd like to contact the attorney for something else, go through the chairman.
Okay.
For approval. But that's completely up to you, how you want to set that up, and you do it in board policy.
Mr. Manuel?
Thank you, sir. In reviewing the cases, and if you're familiar anything with the steps with EC, that is very, very time consuming. And if you sit and listen to a board meeting and all the things that's referred to the lawyer, that's time consuming. Quite frankly, I don't see how he has time to be a lawyer for another school district, just listening to demands that we put on him. So looking at all this, I would vote, and I'm not on the committee, but when it comes to the full board, I would vote to support his contract. However, if I don't want him to come up midstream and say, you know, I've relooked at this and I'm ready to negotiate for some more money. Now, he'll have to go out the door then, Mr. Swartz. You got it? Okay, then. Thank you.
I got a quick question, Mr. Vontae, if you don't mind.
All right, let me get Mr. Henry, then you'll be next.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Swartz, this is for 4 years locked in,
Correct.
so it won't change in 4 years.
It will not change in 4 years.
So I don't,
It's a
you
good
know,
deal.
it may sound high now, but in 4 years, you can say, why didn't I charge more? But I'm just saying that it'll average out.
Mr. Terry?
Next month, when we go to vote on this for the with the full board, will the new members have an opportunity to ask any questions they'd like to ask as well?
Mr. Terry, I think this is gonna be voted on at the next board meeting before the special call board meeting before the new elected officials get sworn in next week.
So, okay, because this is a 4-year commitment, I was just wondering, it looks like we're sort of, even though it may not be enough of new people to sway anything, but I wonder if, are we violating are we doing anything that may give the appearance of trying to get ahead or doing something like this at a special called meeting when we got new board members coming on, you know, putting ourselves in a 4-year commitment?
Well, I'm gonna let the lawyer handle that, speak for that, but I don't think we're doing that. Mr. Swartz, I'll let you speak about that.
No, you're not.
All right, and then another thing I'm gonna say about that, I think the people that's here, that's on the board, has been working with Mr. Swartz since he's been here. And I think for some new members to come on, I think it's sort of put him in a bad place or something that nobody don't even know him and know the work that he has done for our school system. You know, there are a lot of cases, EC cases, a lot of other cases that people don't know about that he has handled. He has did a great job for us. A little long-winded, but he does a great job. So with that being said, it's been properly moved to second that we take this contract to the full board or the next special call meeting. All in favor? No, we didn't do a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Ayes got it. All right, next thing.
So, Mr. Chairman and members, with the actions tonight, and we would move forward to the special call board meeting, the CTE Planetarium Science Center bid package, the FEMA settlement, and the legal retainer contract would be the 3 items that we would move to our special, and then some personnel items that we would need to take care of. Okay. And I would offer for the dates either Monday the 24th or Tuesday the 25th, if we could have that call meeting.
Can people look on the calendar? Tuesday work out better for people? We want Monday. Tuesday. Is Tuesday good for everybody? Is Tuesday good for you, Mr. Terry?
Yes, sir, that works. Thank you.
What time we talking?
Would 5 o'clock work? And
5 o'clock next Tuesday, special board.
Yes.
meeting. She not sitting on. Mr. Gentry. He probably said- All right. Make a motion.
I will be away during that time, but I'll recuse myself.
Okay. Motion. Can you join by Zoom or can you?
Yes, I may be able to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
So June 25 at 5 PM?
Yes. Do we got to have motion for a special call meeting?
No, you don't need
No.
you can do it by motion if you want, or the chair can do it according to board policy. So if you want to make a motion, that's fine.
It's been properly moved and second that we have a special call meeting on June the 25th at 5 o'clock. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to adjourn. We adjourn.